Phil will be zooming in or not.
I did send the link.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready to go then?
We'll wait for a yes from. We'll be zooming in.
Hold on one
No,
sec.
we'll be
I have to
zooming
mute
in or-
this. Okay, you're good.
Okay. All right, welcome everybody, and we will call the Monday, June 7th, 2021 meeting of the Lock Haven City Council. Order. Please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Byerly.
Here.
Councilmember Conklin.
Here.
Councilmember Missouri.
Here.
Councilmember Morris.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Long.
Acceptance of or correction of the minutes of the May 17th regular meeting.
I'll move acceptance.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Public comments. 4A, an email to the city council regarding the rainbow flag installation.
Both for A and B are just for council's information. It was an email submitted to council and a postcard, both thanking city council for the installation of rainbow flags for Pride Month.
Okay. And 4C, Woodward Township resident Terry Banfield.
He was just in the waiting room. He has disappeared. He's back. So I'm going to admit him now.
Okay.
All right. Looks like his audio is connected. Terry, are you there?
Yes.
Right here. Where am I? There I am. Boy, am I ugly? No start. I don't.
I was only laughing at your comment. Welcome to council.
Okay. Thank you for having me to spend a couple minutes with you guys on a project I'm doing again. I've already done it once with the approval of you guys. It was way back. Greg has all the info there with him.
Mhm.
That was back in 2021 to have an American flag placed over Main Street. Now, before we go any further, the cable that is at Addie's is where all the banners are placed up and down. Tyler and I went out, there's another one, I knew about it, attached to the Dollar General store over. So it wouldn't interfere with any of the banners. So I'm asking you guys to consider, Greg has a list of all the days. They're not similar to the last bunch because I think I only had 5 listed. And I think Greg has a list, he can go over it with you. And I understand it, which I didn't follow last time because nobody told me about it. We kept mine up, and then when the banners had to be, we'd take it down. So Greg informed me that 3 days before and 3 days after. And he gave me some pointers I wasn't aware of about. I work with a lot of Corps of Engineers and all you guys, but he filled me on something I really didn't know about the 3 days before and after. So I got this flag for my anniversary. It's made out of wood. It weighs 15 pounds. And it weighs 10 inches by 20 inches. And it's 1.5 inches thick. And it's made out of soft wood. Who's the guy? Sean McMillan made it for me for my anniversary present. So I wanted to donate it again. That would be, let me see, 281 flags. And I hope I can leave that as my legacy someday. But anyway, I'd like to donate it to our city again in honor of all of our veterans of all wars who gave the ultimate sacrifice and never made it back home. In fact, I have a classmate. He went to NAM with another friend of mine, and 2 days later he was KIA, and he was just, like I said, just out of high school. So I keep him in my prayers as long as, among with everybody that served our country, is in an honorable way. Usually when I'm in the school teaching flag etiquette to the 5th and 6th graders, you'd be amazed at the amount of stuff that they're not taught about the American flag. And I've been doing it for about 15 years now. And I just hope, I tell myself, you know, if a dozen kids would really understand about the flag, what I told them, I would feel comfortable with that, even though I wouldn't. And I do a lot of veterans homes. In fact, I'm going to speak at Kiwanis this Thursday. And I don't have much time there. I only have about 15 minutes. So how much? Okay. But anyway, Greg, am I missing anything?
I'll just kind of clarify tonight for council. I think
Sure.
the first step that we need to take is if council could direct city staff to reach out to PennDOT to clarify that the flag itself, which is made out of wood, would be acceptable to them.
Yes, sir.
And if the placement of a second banner, basically on a regular basis at the Mill Street intersection would be acceptable to them as well. If those things are both acceptable or some version of that is provided to the city, then we can go back and work with Mr. Banfield to bring forward a resolution before council. When I looked at the the US flag code, it did constitute 21 days that are laid out in section 6 for the flag to be up, and then it would be 3 days before and after that. So I think the first step, though, would be if council is interested, having staff contact PennDOT and the bureau that oversees banners, just to clarify those two things first. The second location, if that's permissible, and also the construction of the banner itself, which is actually wood, if that would be acceptable. And from there, we'd be able to engage in continued discussion with Mr. Banfield to try to see what can be done.
I would move that project and move it technically to the city staff to proceed with the investigative work that has to be done ahead of time. And then we can look at the resolution when that time comes around, once we have more information.
Second.
Okay, you have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Steve?
Yeah, I do have concerns over the wooden part though, Terry. I've seen Sean's
Right.
handiwork and how many he's done. That's really great.
Mhm.
I see how much the wind blows a regular banner and flips it around and carries on. Where is the liability going to be at if the banner or cable or something comes loose and goes down and hits somebody? It's a lot harder on the head than it is a regular flag. Plus,
Well,
it's supposed to be hung horizontally, not or vertically,
Right, that's right.
and so it'd be down a little lower. So we have to worry about trucks too. But
Here-
I do have concerns about the wooden flag.
It's not going to be this, like all the other banners and that, about you get a little bit of wind and they always blow over. This wouldn't blow over. And Tyler Wooding, Greg, you don't have that picture I showed you how he put it up, did he? With all these cables and stuff that,
No, I don't.
maybe I don't have that. But anyway, when I did this before, I worked with the city, with Randy Gillen for 11 years. We put up the new Christmas stuff in and out. But back then, I would take an American flag and have my seamstress put a piece of steel or a round piece of steel on the bottom of it, and she'd double stitch the holes. And when high wind come, don't ask me how it happened. 2 days later, I go down and that steel rod would be out. We were just lucky. I mean, we were just lucky. That probably come out of more than a dozen flagpoles. You know, the wind, and then that thing come out and then it landed by the gutter.
Terry, how many pounds did you say it was?
About 15 pounds.
And it's 10 inches by 20 inches and half an inch thick.
Yes.
All right, we'll send an email tomorrow if council, excuse me, votes to pursue this, then we'll send an email tomorrow to the banner division there at PennDOT and get some feedback from them and get back to you then.
I just have one more thing here. Find that here. I'm gonna take you guys' time up.
You're fine.
Anyway, this is my, anyway, if I were to do all the things that the flag can fly, it would be like for President's birthday, Easter, blah, 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 blah. So we're only picking the ones I picked before. And I think Greg has those. We only did a couple of them before. So now I'm asking if we can do all of them, you know, if it's approved.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much and have a nice day. Greg, thanks again for helping me out.
All right, thank you.
All
Terry,
right, bud.
thank you very
See you
much. We
guys.
appreciate everything you do.
Steve, you didn't say a word. Hello, Steve. Oh, there he is.
Steve says, did
I
say.
just teasing you. Oh, there's Rich. I don't know, that pretty late. Oh, okay.
Terry,
Who's
you
that
wanna
guy?
wait just a
I
second?
know
Let's
where
sit
you're
down.
going. Hey, I better get going. Jeff, give me that look in the headlight.
You're
Like
okay. Just hang
See
on
you,
a second.
Jeff.
Let's have the vote.
See you guys. Thank
Anybody
you.
have any other
All
comments?
right.
Is the 3 days before up and down times 21 times
Uh-huh.
is 42 installations?
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of
That's right.
running a ladder truck out there, putting
Well-
things up and down. Can we
Great.
pare that list down from 21 by any chance?
Let me say something here. Greg, I told Greg before, when I was doing that with Randy Gillen, we would go take the ice out of, it was all city stuff, take the ice out of the city hall, go out in parks, put the lights up. We used that flag or that truck more than ever. I told Greg, he said he never heard of it, but some of the comments got back to Randy and I that we shouldn't be using the ladder truck that much because it would damage it. Well, I was in charge of our motor pool. We must have had 200 vehicles. The ones that ran the best are the mail clerk and the other ones. The other ones, we started up once a week and ran them for 10 minutes. They was always having trouble with. So I'll leave that up to you, Greg. I asked Greg if that would be a problem with the city, with the fire truck. I know you're saying it's up and down, but I told that right to you, Greg. So you guys are going to have to consider what you want to, and we can definitely shorten that list. But when if it's been approved, I'd like to pick the days if I could to shorten them, you know, and that would be no problem.
Okay.
Is that all right with you, Greg?
Well, Terry, it's up to council which days they do want to
Okay.
approve ultimately.
No, I'm saying about the use of the ladder truck. I think I told you, that's a lot of up and down, up and down, up and down.
It is, but we all serve at the wish of council. So
Okay,
if
sure.
council says we're putting it up 147 times a year, we're putting it up 147 times.
Okay. Remember, the American flag is how we sign our name.
Absolutely.
Good night, you guys. Greg's giving me that look again. You guys have a nice evening.
You're
I'm
fine.
just kidding with you, Greg. He knows that.
Any
All right.
any
You
other
guys,
comments
thank
or
you.
questions? Anyone?
Am I out?
Any comments?
Any questions or comments from anyone, council? Anyone? All right, then let's have a vote. We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Hi, Mr.
Councilmember
Morris.
Stevenson,
Hey, how you
Yes.
doing, Terry?
Thank you.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Okay, so we've approved it going to PennDOT and going from there, correct? We haven't actually picked dates or anything like that at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
We'll just start looking into it.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
All right.
thank you, Terry.
thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Take
Have
care.
a good evening.
Okay, we have another person for public comments, correct, Greg?
Yes, Bill Crowell, who's a resident on Bellefonte Avenue, asked to speak to city council, and I'm bringing him forward now.
Thank you.
Says connecting to audio.
Okay, we have,
Hello.
Mr. Crowell, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Can you see me?
No, we can't. We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Let me try this here.
And that's good.
There you are.
Probably better the other way.
But you have
Sorry,
the-
I was a couple of minutes behind watching the live stream.
What would you like?
Well, it's always a tough show to follow, Terry, but I'll do my best and try to keep it brief. I was cutting the grass the other day and I had an idea for marketing the city, which I thought I would just bring to council and run it by you and see if you guys thought I was crazy or thought it was a good idea, or we could just kind of go from there. So apparently I do all my best thinking when I'm cutting grass. So thankfully I have a lot of it that needs cut. I just thought a good idea in order to share Lock Haven with the world would be revolve around our strong baseball and softball history that we have here in Clinton County. Anytime that the kids go away for tournaments or whatever, you always hear people from other teams saying how well behaved they are, how well mannered they are. So, I mean, Central Mountain Baseball is currently in the state playoffs, and Lock Haven won the Little League World Series in 1948, and it was 10 years ago this year that Keystone made it to the Little League World Series, and everybody remembers how excited that was for us as a time. This year, the Little League World Series will be held from August 19th to the 29th, and they won't be having international teams this year, so they'll be doubling up on their USA teams, so they'll have 2 from each of the different areas that are coming. Whenever ESPN streams any of that Little League World Series stuff, they get like over 1.2 million viewers. And the Little League World Series as a whole brings in about $30 million to the local economy of Williamsport. I think last year they said they missed out on that 30 million and it was closer to $40 million. So I know we all like to hope that Keystone makes it to the Little League World Series every year, but in the event that they don't, I propose that Lock Haven adopt a team that's attending the Little League World Series. So something of this nature would involve maybe ceremoniously changing the name of Lock Haven to say, like, you know, Keystone PA or whatever the team name would be that we choose to adopt. We could make it their official hometown away from home. So as the team comes and they stay there in Williamsport, the teams are doing all their stuff down there, but they have limited access with their kids. So while their kids are practicing and staying in the complex, the parents and families and brothers and sisters are kind of left to their own devices. So I thought if we could find a way to draw at least, you know, one of those families into Lock Haven, it would be a great way to kind of showcase our area to the world. And ESPN's always covering all things Little League. So if we ceremoniously change the name from Lock Haven, PA to, you know, Keystone, PA, or whatever the team name would be, and maybe we hung a big banner down there. We contacted the team after they won and said, hey, you know, congratulations, we'd love to adopt you and have you as our, you know, official team for the Little League World Series, and kind of promote that and get locker rooms at the hotel where they can get a discount on and they can stay there. We can decorate the storefronts, put a big banner across. I know this is stepping on Terry's thing, but across Main Street down there that says, you know, welcome so-and-so to, you know, Keystone, Pennsylvania, or whatever the team name is, and paint the team name or logos on the street intersections downtown. I thought that was really nice for the Pride Month. We already have the pedestrian mall set up, you know, closed off for that 2 weeks so Main Street would be closed. There'd be dining downtown. There's a band, you know, I think on Grove Street on the 27th is the classic rock band Flashback, and Speed Bump Willie's playing at Triangle Park on the 20th. You know, we could have some welcome kits in hotel rooms. And I just thought it would be an interesting way to kind of showcase Lock Haven and try to get a little bit of that, you know, Little League World Series bump to come to Lock Haven. So if it was something that you were interested in, I mean, we could sit down and iron out some ideas or anything. I was just throwing it out there, seeing if it stuck to the wall and see what you guys thought.
I think it's a neat idea. Not that Casey needs any more work, but she would be the obvious person to, don't you think, Greg, to put a point or something like that?
She is. Fortunately, we got assistance through Lock Haven University and have an intern this summer.
Great.
So we do have a little bit of extra help, and definitely something that Casey's office can sit down with Bill and probably some other interested parties, maybe someone from the concert committee, somebody from downtown Lock Haven, and brainstorm and see what could be done to put something together for that.
And I don't know what the logistics go into, like ceremoniously changing your name for, of the city, but I think something like that would kind of, draw their attention. And if you contacted the local media from, whatever city it is or where the kids come from and say, hey, we're adopting your team, and kind of get the word out there, and it would give them something, hey, we should go check out. Because I know if we had traveled and say we went to, Georgia to play in the World Series and Keystone went, and you had a whole bunch of families from Lock Haven go down, and they said, hey, this one town right down the road renamed their town Keystone, Georgia. We should go check out Keystone, Georgia. You know what I mean? So we kind of build that a little bit of excitement. And hey, if ESPN came down and covered us while we had Main Street closed and people were out dining and partying on the street, I'm sure that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Is there any action that we should take as a result of this meeting, Greg, or are we just directing them towards Casey at this point?
No, I think we'll just have Casey reach out to Bill, hopefully tomorrow or as soon as thereafter, and come up with a time to sit down and have a discussion about it and brainstorm about all the positives and pitfalls and try to figure out what we can do to meet the challenge.
Bill, I think it's a great idea. It sounds like so much fun and it's so great. I'd be willing to help out in any way I can. I think it's awesome.
Anything else? Well, Bill, thank you very much.
If it needs any more thought, Bill, I have some extra grass I can lend you.
Okay. I have enough grass of my own, trimming and edging and all that stuff. So.
Well, thank you, Bill. We appreciate it, and we look forward to looking at a more developed idea down the road here.
Okay. And I apologize to Casey in advance for any additional work I may have brought.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Greg, do we have any other public comment?
I had no other public comments. Thank you, Mr. Crowe.
Okay. So, 5, consideration of the appointment of a resident elector to the vacant seat of City Council, term ending January 3rd, 2022.
So we have, 4 individuals who submitted letters of interest that they also submitted affidavits of residency. Jeff Brinker, Alexander DiCostanzo, Nathan, who goes by Matt Konecki, and William McGill. And so, as is traditional, the mayor will oversee this section, and council has been provided a list of questions that are traditionally asked. Of course, it's up to the mayor and council what questions you do want to ask. All I ask is that at the beginning, I do have questions that I have to ask of each candidate, which if you'll permit me to ask right off the bat, we can get that out of the way, and then you'll be able to answer your questions. Mine are the disqualifiers under the Constitution of the Commonwealth. So with your permission, I'll bring forward each of the people.
Please do. We'll get started.
I've been provided a list of questions that are traditionally asked. Of course, it's up to the mayor and council what questions you do want to ask. All I ask is
the delay there. Welcome, candidates. I guess we'll just go by the list the way it is on the agenda. And the first person listed on the agenda is Dr. Jeff Brinker. Dr. Brinker, the city manager has a few questions that he needs to ask before the council asks their questions of you, if you don't mind.
Sure. Thank you.
Mine are the formality questions. They're not the fun ones. They're just tick the boxes. So
right.
under the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania An individual is disqualified from holding public office, whether elected or appointed for specific reasons. I'll ask you those questions and I'll ask you to please answer truthfully. Have you ever been convicted of embezzlement of public money?
No.
Have you ever been convicted of bribery?
No.
Have you ever been convicted of perjury?
No.
And have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
Under the Pennsylvania Constitution and with the affidavit of residency presented, then Mr. Brinker would be a qualified candidate for council to consider.
Thank you, Greg. Council, let's go about this in an organized manner. If you are ready to ask a question, just put your hand up and I'll call on you. You can ask questions so we can keep it organized, okay? So who would like to ask a question first? Anyone?
Nobody. Okay.
Councilman Byerly.
Dr. Brinker, appreciate you putting in for the vacancy. I would just ask, why you? What would make you stand out as a potential member of council?
I appreciate the opportunity to just get together with you all. You may say, why didn't I run in the beginning to get my name on a ticket here in the primaries? It just comes down to is the timing. You know, just as Bill bowed out here just of late, you know, with things in life, things came up in my life that I could get back into this. For the last 6 months, it's been kind of crazy with COVID and things that are going on. And I believe the time is back in there that it's available for me and my life, my family, and so forth. But as far as, you know, why am I considering this and why am I the right candidate? I believe my years of experience teaching for 26 years. I have my doctorate in education and leadership. I feel that is a good asset to the board, to the council, to our community that we've done. I've done 26 years of coaching as well, community service. So I really understand the hours. I appreciate the time that unsung accolades that you guys go through because the hours that I've done, whether it's at the soccer fields or whether it's within the Gideon's Ministry of Leadership, being president of those organizations as well, I think it's really prepared me for this opportunity. As you most of you know, I ran for mayor, and Richard and Joel and I, we all had great campaigns together, and I got to learn more about them and a little bit more about the community during that run, what the community all has to offer. And it was an exciting opportunity back then. And I just like the opportunity once again to serve with you guys for another 6 months before the elections come back around. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I guess I have a question. What would be your #1 priority as a council person?
I like your background. I mean, I wish I was outside right now. That is pretty sweet.
Come on over to the boat.
How about it? I don't see any boats going, but I like that background. I think the communication, I think, was continuation. I think you guys have done a great job in the last 2 years. That was part of my platform back when I was running for mayor, and I see the Facebook is being up to dated, and Casey's doing a great job there. I like what you guys have done with the Lock Haven Comprehensive Plan. I got involved, you know, I put my information in, I did that as well, but also continue to support Lock Haven University. As an alumni, I think it's important that we support our local students, our local professors, and stay united as a front within the community here as well with the council.
Other
What
questions?
then after that do you think is the biggest challenge that's facing Lock Haven?
The biggest challenge of spacing? Oh, it's going to be a continuation of bringing businesses in. I think the last 2 years, the downtown projects have been really, really nice. I like what you guys have done there. I like how even the last over 6 months of listening to local businesses downtown and now alternating the the music downtown and listening to the street businesses. I think that was important. That was one of my concerns early on. I think it was neat for the COVID aspect of things, but I liked how you guys have opened up the alleys and just continuation of the challenges that we face and continue to move on to new ideas. Just because we've done something in the past doesn't mean we always have to do it the exact same way. And like I said, I really like how you've adjusted in the last year, the times of trials that we've had. And the continuation of that, yeah.
Richard, you were next.
So, Jeff, what do we not do well, do you think?
What do we not do well? Well, I don't know. I haven't been on every meeting since the last year. I've watched some of them, but I think the continuation of what you guys do very well is I think you listen well to one another in agreement and you talk things out. Like I said, if I was on every meeting, I would know more. But I think you guys have done a great job of communicating back and forth from what I could see. Different videos that I've watched in the backgrounds.
Well, you can take it as a working rule that nobody listens to me, but apart from that, would it be? Would it be? You serve till the first Monday in January. Would it be your intention to seek your party's nomination?
Correct. I've already talked with the Republican leadership, and I've told them that I was going to be meeting here tonight. And if I was to get the nod, I would be still, regardless if I get the nod or not, I'm planning on putting my name in the election of Republican nomination. So yes.
Is that the local Republican leadership or the Republican
Correct.
leadership?
It's just the local.
Okay.
Anyone else question? Rick?
Yeah, Dr. Brinker. And I'm doing this because of the tradition that we have at City Council. I'm making an assumption with those comments that you made that you're still part of the registered as a Republican.
Correct.
And traditionally, we replace with the same party, of course, and I'm sure you're aware of that tradition. But there's nothing holds us to that. But traditionally, we replace with the same party. But nonetheless, my other question, or my main question, really, is that considering the fact that as a councilman in this particular city, we represent the entire city and not a particular ward or particular precinct, as some cities do, how would you have an ability to separate your personal bias from the interest of the city itself?
Yeah, I do it every day. I work in government. Every day I am a governmental employee. I walk into the building and I have to do my job and I have to wear my mask just like all the other kids, regardless if I think masks are a good thing or a bad thing. As a governmental employee, we have to do our job and look beyond sometimes our personal aspects, but that doesn't mean my personal beliefs or personal ideas are a bad thing. I think that's a great thing that we all hold. We all have strengths of beliefs and character. I think character is a great thing. And but yeah, I think it's what I've been doing for the last 26 years has prepared me for this role. To push aside just even personal beliefs, because if there's a mandate that comes down from government, that's what we are. We're part of the governmental process, and we have to follow the guidelines that are in place, regardless we like them or not. You know, whenever I was coaching the soccer team, there were some silly rules there that were passed about the mask and bus riding and 6 feet apart. Regardless of what I thought, I still had to do it. And that's the nature of the beast of being a public servant within the governmental realms. We have to do what's right according to the law and how we do things. But yes, I believe I can do that. And I have done that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Brinker? Okay. Well, Dr. Brinker, thank you for your interest. Appreciate you taking an active interest in council, and we're going to move on with the next candidate.
Hey, I appreciate the time.
If,
Hey, thank you so much.
if we choose someone tonight, whoever is chosen can still sit on the meeting, but they wouldn't be able to vote this evening until they're sworn in.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. And next, Alexander D. Costanzo.
Hello.
How do you prefer to be addressed, Mr. D. Costanzo?
Alex is fine.
Alex, okay. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for your interest in council. The city manager has some technical questions he needs to ask before we proceed, okay?
Yep.
You're muted, Greg.
I so rarely am muted that it's hard to remember to turn
As
it
much
on.
as we might want you to be.
It's the joy of controlling the mute button. Under the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, an individual is disqualified from holding public office, whether elected or appointed for specific reasons. I'm going to ask you those questions, and I request that you please answer truthfully. Have you ever been convicted of embezzlement of public money?
No.
Have you ever been convicted of bribery?
Nope.
Have you ever been convicted of perjury?
No.
And have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
All right. Mr. D. Costanzo meets the obligations under the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Constitution as a qualified candidate for council's consideration.
Thanks, Greg. So, Alex, we're going to get on through, and as with the last candidate, I'm going to call on different councilmen that raise their hand to me so I can make sure we keep it, they aren't stepping on each other. And they'll ask you questions, okay? Anyone have any questions for Alex? Steve, you always get a question. You want to start?
Oh, yeah, I'll ask the same as I did, Jeff. What would be your number one priority as a council person?
So for me, I'm very new to local politics. This is my first time ever getting involved at all. I'm very new to this, but I operate a business here in town. And what I've noticed is with us hiring is a lot of people in town are struggling with like probation and trying to get back on their feet. And for me, helping them in employment situations where they can fit the needs of their probation and still work and get back on their feet. And we support that at the company, my wife and our business partner we own. I want to work with other local businesses to give people these chances to work and be employed and still fulfill their needs with probation and to get them back on their feet. So that's what really kind of inspired me to run, and that was my big focus, or at least why I wanted to do this in the first place, is seeing these people who need this help and how they get put in this hole and it's difficult for them to climb out. And I think it's our duty as local businesses to help employ people in this town, and I want to help them get back on their feet. So I know we do that at our business, and I think our local businesses can assist in that as well.
Next.
Well, so then do you think that unemployment's the biggest challenge that we have in the city, or what about anything else that we do?
So that's one of the problems, but another one is housing as well. So I know I did see on the agenda there's the home grant, and I know we've had some employees that, for example, I had an employee that he didn't have a place to live at the end of the month. So his best option was to go back to prison so he can have a place to sleep and, have meals for the foreseeable future. And that's, in my eyes, awful. So I think housing is important because he truly didn't have a place to live. And I think it's important for us to, use that money to assist with those low income, needs.
Thank you.
Well, let me just continue then, because I was sort of fishing for what skill set that you might bring to council, because we all have to know about roads and police and fire and parks, and you change hats 15 times a day. And so if you could expound on your skill set, that would help also.
So I wear a lot of hats at our small business. We started in 2018. I came on in 2019. I operate as, I onboard new clients. I manage changing needs on a daily basis for all of our clients, all of our employees. I interface with all of our clients as I'm the one they talk to. I'm customer service. I'm very good at getting things done. Project managing, making sure projects happen on time and are given the right resources to make sure they happen. So that's my bread and butter. My degree is in mechanical engineering and project engineering. So that's what I'm good at.
Anyone else have any questions for Alex? Richard?
A little bit of background, if you wouldn't mind. Are you native to this area?
I'm not. I grew up on Long Island in New York.
Oh, okay.
Richard
Another
Black.
import. And what's the nature of the business you're in?
We're a third-party logistics company. We handle mostly automotive parts.
Okay. And the people for whom you try to provide a new start after probation, are these essentially, how do I want to say this? Are they essentially manual type jobs or brain jobs?
So we do a very good job of training our people to become our leaders and our supervisors. But yes, we start everyone out in a warehouse associate style role where they pick parts, they ship parts, counting, packing orders, things like that. But we do a great job of hiring from within. Our warehouse supervisor, our general manager, really, he's 22 years old and is a local of Lock Haven. And we've taken him under our wing. We've trained him up to, give him a leadership role in the company and give him the skills he needs to do that.
Well, all power to you for giving these people the opportunity. How would you persuade your fellow employers to take that chance themselves?
Truthfully, I don't know yet, but I have a success story that I like to talk about because I was actually here when Loot Crate was here. I helped bring them to town, and we were working with a local career link. And one of the women there, she was vouching for an employee or a candidate from their program who was a felon. And in my experience and our business partners' experience, we had never hired felons before. It was just something at bigger companies that we had worked at that never happened. They wouldn't even make it to our hiring process. So we were very hesitant to take that on. So we eventually came to the decision to hire this person, and he has worked for and with us for the past 4 years. And he is now one of the highest paid hourly positions in the warehouse. And I gave him, we gave him a car as a bonus 1 year. We got him, I personally helped him get his license so he can drive. And he is one of the best, employees that I've ever had anywhere I've been. So that's when I talk about trying other businesses to take on these risks, I like to point him out as, being one of, coming from that background does not necessarily entail you can't succeed in a role like that.
Anyone else have a question for Alex? Rick? You're on mute.
Sorry, we got it. And again, as everybody has mentioned, we're glad to have you as a candidate. And you may not have realized this, but Richard Morris is not native to the area either. I just wanted to point that out. So Councilman Morris has that same situation. Anyway, sorry. My question would be the same, frankly, and that is within the system that we work as a general council for the entire city. are you able to set aside personal biases when you come into situations where you may disagree wholeheartedly with a stand, but it's a personal issue and not a city issue that you're dealing with?
Absolutely. So we deal with that, at my company as well, because a lot of the time we get personally, especially as leaders, we get personally invested in the lives of our employees. And we hired an HR director. Actually, she moved here from Colorado. We convinced her to come out here and work for our company, and she has been invaluable in holding us accountable to our policies and everything in place. So it's an important part of my daily life is putting aside my personal feelings on matters to do what's right by the employee and what's right by our policy, and making sure we follow the guidelines we set in place.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Steve?
Yeah, knowing that you're on the ballot for this coming general election, I guess I don't know exactly how it works with if you would be appointed till January and then you win election, or would you run for the 2-year term to finish the seat out? Or if you got elected, you'd stay for the 4-year thing. It's pretty convoluted to me, but we'll have to, if you would accept or get elected in November, we would be looking again in the spring, I understand, for somebody else, for another person for council again?
Actually, what happens?
Or the 2-year election thing would kick in November, and that would be the vacancy filled, right?
Right. What happens, Greg, or excuse me, Steve, is that we are appointing this seat until the end of this year. The party is choosing someone who will be put on the ballot for a 2-year term. They would take this seat specifically in January. Alex is running currently for the 4-year term, and if he were to win, he would move into the 4-year seat. So we wouldn't appoint anyone else unless someone else somewhere along the line decides to resign after the November election. They'll be elected during November, who will be seated in January.
Okay, thank you for, and I thought it was real close to something like that, but I just wanted to say that thank you for going out and doing the work and getting 100 signatures during COVID and getting your name on the ballot. It's a lot of work to go out and get them 100 no matter what, COVID or not. And so you must really have a desire to sit on council and work and help us. So I do appreciate your effort and your desire to continue on and come tonight for an interview.
Thank you. Actually, I had a lot of fun doing that. I loved going around and meeting everyone in town. It was surprisingly more fun than I thought it was going to be. So I really enjoyed it.
Any other questions before we move on? So Alex, I think you were on here and you heard my explanation to Dr. Brinker that we will take a vote when this is all done on who will take a seat, and they're welcome to stay on and give input during the remainder of the meeting, but they cannot vote until we get them sworn in.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you. So now we are moving on to Nathan Mack Kalnacki. Am I pronouncing it right, Mac?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I don't see a video feed, so I just wanted to make sure everybody could hear me. But yes, it's Kalnacki. It's Polish, so as long as you're not throwing extra letters in there, it's all right.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hook up your video feed?
Oh,
yeah, go ahead, put it on. I want to see.
Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry. Hi. I didn't realize the cross on that. I'm using it on my phone, so I was not aware.
All right. So, Mac, as you heard me tell the other two, our city manager has some official questions we need to get out of the way, and
Yes,
then
sir.
council will ask the questions that they have. Right?
All right, and I am, excuse me, unmuted this time. Under the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, an individual is disqualified from holding public office, whether elected or appointed, for specific reasons. I will ask you those questions, and I request that you please answer truthfully. Have you ever been convicted of embezzlement of public money?
No, I have not.
Have you ever been convicted of bribery?
No, sir.
Have you ever been convicted of perjury?
I have not.
And have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
All right. He has provided an affidavit of residency and answered correctly the questions of the Commonwealth, making him a qualified candidate for council's consideration for the vacancy.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so questions for Matt Kalinecki. Kalinecki, sorry, I already threw extra letters in. Anyone? Steve?
Mac, what skill set would you bring to council? Tell me a little bit about your background or your expertise, or how can you help the city?
Well,
fitting into council?
I work in retail in the city right now. So I constantly see people coming through the store as I'm stocking shelves, and I'm talking with people, and I just listen to the issues they discuss with me, whether it's something going on personal, whether it's something they think they could do somewhere. I think I'm a good listener, and I'm willing to give anyone a voice, whether they're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, anarchist, whatever you call yourself. I just feel like I'd be a good candidate for just the fact that I can listen through a non-partisan background.
Doug?
Mac, appreciate you putting in for the vacancy. My question would be, tell me one or two of the issues or projects that you feel are important for the city in the next year or two.
Well, personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with the city. I think there's plenty that you guys have done right, like how COVID was handled citywide was very nice. The construction with the roadways is going very well, and I didn't think there was any issues there. So I don't think there's any glaring issues aside from maybe going along Main Street, you go past or you go near Triangle Park, and there's just that empty lot that just glares right at people as they're driving past. And then perhaps the hometown hero banners that are starting to get faded. And it does not necessarily look like something you'd want people coming from neighboring cities to see. Perhaps like faded banners, do they think negatively of their veterans, something along those lines?
When you mentioned empty space, are you speaking about the former Town Tavern locations that were up Bellefonte Avenue past Triangle Park?
No, it's near the monument. There's
right, that was the former Town Tavern. You were aware,
yes, yeah, okay.
I want to make sure that the council knew which area you were talking about. I wasn't certain myself.
Yeah.
And just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yes.
Other questions? Steve?
Since you just moved to town, what advantages do you think living in Lock Haven have to offer?
Well, I think it's very nice that almost everything in the city is within walking distance, that I can just leave my home right now and there's a grocery store 2 blocks away. There's plenty of places downtown that I can just walk to and have a good time. Well, pre-COVID times, I could have a good time in restaurants with large crowds of people, and we'd be able to discuss just the closer environment that Lock Haven provides its citizens.
Barb, you had a question?
That was basically what I was going to ask, how he finds Lock Haven and how he came to be here in Lock Haven.
Well, I moved here when I was 13. So my family lived out in the short neighborhood of Crestmont down by Woolwich. And then I moved into the city when I went to the university here. So I think it's a very, very beautiful town full of wonderful, amazing people.
Other questions? Anyone? Steve?
Yes. So what do you think is the biggest challenge facing the city?
Well, not to piggyback off of Alexander, but I do agree with the unemployment issue. And it's not necessarily that there's the $300 incentive that the government's offering. It is just the background checks of people who may have done drugs in the past and they instantly get rejected from several of the job applications they're applying for.
Other questions? Rick?
Yeah, I do want to double back on.
You went back on mute.
Oh,
There we go. My computer told me I was on mute. Hey, but I think first off, your political affiliation, Matt. What's your political affiliation? Party.
oh,
Party you
sorry.
belong
I'm
to.
a Democrat. Your microphone was very quiet. I am
Oh.
a Democrat.
Just, I didn't know. Let me, anyway. All right. I appreciate that. I didn't realize that. But also going back to the same question, how do you separate yourself, your personal feelings from something that may be bigger than you, from a city project or a city, a movement in the city that you may not agree with, but you don't agree personally, but it's a better project for the citizenship as a whole. How do you separate your personal feelings from that?
Well, personally, as someone from a retail background, since I was employed, it's very easy for me because I've always been sort of the lower man on the totem pole. So on the one hand, it's never been up to me. So I've always been able to just sort of step back and not emotionally attach myself to any sort of issues. I would just either agree with it wholeheartedly or disagree with it wholeheartedly and then explain why without having any sort of emotional investment one way or the other. I essentially the utilitarian, which would get the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve?
If you're not successful tonight, are you applying to the Democratic Party to place your name on the ballot? Will you continue to strive to get on the council, or is this your one-time shot?
As I've never had any, this is also my first time in any sort of political investment. I might hold off for now and then try again in the future, just to give myself more experience in politics along those lines.
Anyone else? Matt, thank you. As I stated numerous times, and if you've been on, you've listened. The person we select will be allowed to stay on and be involved in the meeting, but won't have a vote this evening until we get them sworn in. Thank you so much for your interest, and we're going to move on to the next candidate, okay?
I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And finally, William McGill. Do you prefer to be called Bill, or what do you prefer?
Yeah, Bill's fine.
Okay. Bill, the city manager, as you know, because you've been with us the whole time, has some questions to get out of the way here before we get started, okay?
Thank you. Yep.
Greg, you're on mute again.
By now being the fourth person to receive these questions, you've had a heads up to be able to exit gracefully if they should not be answered properly. So under the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, an individual is disqualified from holding public office, whether elected or appointed for specific reasons. I will ask you those questions and I request that you please answer truthfully. Have you ever been convicted of embezzlement of public money?
No.
And have you ever been convicted of bribery?
No.
Have you ever been convicted of perjury?
No.
And have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
All right. An affidavit of residency has been submitted along with the letter of interest, and having answered the questions affirmatively, the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's qualifications have been met, and council may consider Mr. McGill as a candidate for the vacancy on council.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so we'll get started with the questions. Who would like to be first with a question? Go ahead, Steve.
Of course. Well, Bill, since you're asking for a council seat and you already got your seat paved, your street paved, I can't believe East Water Street's all done now. The lines are a little crooked, but at least they're probably gone pretty fast down there. So we'll need to put some speed enforcement there, but what else does the city do well? What are you proud
Well,
of
first off,
that the city does?
it's a very beautiful street, so thank you. You know, the city does a lot of things well. You know, it's a small community. People know each other. You know, I'm all about community as far as bringing people together and trying to get people to take a better interest in their community. So I think there's a lot of things that Lock Haven offers. I lived in Williamsport for 30 years. Big difference between small town Lock Haven and Williamsport, even though Williamsport's not quite as large as it used to be. So, you know, there's a lot of friendliness here. There's a lot of people here that, you know, they've grown up here. You know, they don't want to leave this area. And so I think that's the opportunity here. It's the peacefulness of the community itself.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Steve?
I'm big on volunteering and doing things for the community other than council. Can you tell us a little bit about something that you might have been involved with or something that community service of some kind?
Well, let's see. I spent, I guess, 5 years with Pennsylvania J.C.'s. I developed the Mill Hall Charter back in the early, I guess, about the mid 80s, I guess it was. So I founded that charter and was president of that for 3 years of that organization. I served in Mill Hall at a very young age as on the planning commission there for 2 years. Let's see. At one time, Lock Haven wasn't part of Little League. I ran Lock Haven Youth League as president, vice president, coached. And I also served like in Williamsport on the same capacities. I've run for city council in Williamsport. I've run for the State House of Representatives for the 83rd district. So I think I've done a lot as far as trying to put a good faith effort into communities. I'm also an Army veteran, so I think that's the ultimate service, I believe, to serving people.
Doug, you had your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, Mr. McGill, same question that I asked the last candidate. What do you think is the biggest challenge or project you would want to see the city attack in the next year or two?
Well, I think probably some of the things that I'm of interest of, I think diversity. I think we have some things that we need to really bring along as far as diversity of the community. But I think, continuing to do the things as far as the infrastructure, I think we need to develop, some more businesses. Not that we don't have good businesses, but we just need to bring along some other additional businesses that might be able to help us grow the community with home ownership and those kind of things.
Other questions for Mr. McGill? Richard or Rick?
All right, hopefully my mic's working better now. We'll see. Okay. Bill, my first question, of course, is your political affiliation. Which party?
I am a Democrat.
And of course, with that, I brought the question up for the other three candidates about their ability to separate themselves personally and their personal feelings from the needs of the city. Now, with your background, it appears that you've already probably answered that question 1,000 times between your runs in Williamsport and for the state office, but I would like to hear it again nonetheless.
Not a problem. Yeah, first off, I think any time that you're going to be involved in any kind of community activity, whether it's for politics or just in general, you've got to serve the people that are interested in those organizations or in those political affiliates. The one thing that I'm totally bothers me the most, I think, right now is the division that we have. So I think people can set all that aside, and work for the common good of people. All people, not just certain individuals.
Thank you.
Other questions?
So if you are selected for this seat, will you attempt to run for the next election then? Or if you're not successful, will you put your name in for the continuation of the 2-year term?
Mr. Stevenson, that's a great question because I'll tell you what, I actually have been talking about running for a different office in the future. But I've kind of backed away from that a little bit. So yes, I mean, my concern would be that if I'm going to be selected, I think it's only my obligation to make sure that we follow up with that and let the people decide.
Because there's a learning curve to sit on council, to understand the workings and things that go on. And so short term doesn't help you bring your expertise forward for us. So any of the unsuccessful candidates tonight or those that may be going to run for election, since they live in the city, we do have a few boards and commissions that have vacancies. And that's a way to get your feet wet also and learn a little more of a little piece of what goes on in the city. So if anybody wants to continue their public service, that would be a good way to start if they're still interested.
Any other questions? Okay, Mr. McGill, thank you so much for your interest. We're going to deliberate here a little bit, I think, and look for someone to make a motion and perhaps choose someone and move on from there. So thank you. Greg, am I correct?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You are correct, Your Honor. At this point, it would be up to a member of council to make a motion, gain a second to that. 4 members of council must vote in the affirmative for any candidate to be appointed to the position.
Okay. Does anyone want to discuss anything or make a motion? Steve?
I think we had 4 decent candidates that I think we could all work with all 4 of them. But I'm going to move to appoint Alex Costanzo because I think with 3 unopposed going into the general, he probably has a pretty good chance. And I'd like to see him get a head start here on learning about council because like I talked about the learning curve. So I'm just qualifying my motion to have him appointed to finish this seat for the unexpired term or for till the January thing.
I would second that motion.
Any discussion from other council members? Doug, did you have something? Go ahead.
I agree with Steve. All the candidates were very good, answered the questions well. Would certainly love to see Dr. Brinker have a chance. He ran for mayor and did well there, and I'm certainly hoping he will follow through and put his hat in the ring for a position in the future. But I agree with Steve, with Alex running and with what you explained, Mayor, that for that slot, it would make sense to have Alex have an opportunity to fill this term and then potentially go to that 4-year seat as well, and then have someone else be able to slide into the 2-year term. So I would agree.
Anyone else?
I'm also in favor of Alex.
Okay. I guess then we call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Welcome to council.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I guess we'll have to arrange, Greg, you'll set up the time for us to get together and do the swearing in.
I'm only pausing because I just sent Alex Di Costanzo the council packet, which should arrive in his email. And if you were to open that up, The mayor may be able to share with you what page in the PDF we are currently going to. But yes, we'll arrange for time for you to come in and get sworn into office so that you can begin to vote at council meetings.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think we should also just formally extend our thanks to the other candidates for putting their hat in the ring. I'm no stranger to missing out on elected office, so don't be discouraged. If you really want to do this, keep trying.
Yes, I think we had 4 very worthy candidates, and I hope they all continue to stay involved in some manner. As Steve pointed out, we do have boards and authorities that we need help on. It's a way to get involved and learn more about how the city operates and prepare yourself for sometime serving in the future maybe. So thank you again to all the people that put your name in.
Hey, thank you all. I really appreciate the time. Hey, congrats, Al.
Yes, thank you all so much.
Hey, have a great night. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, so we've finished item number 5. We are now on correspondence. Use requests number 6A, 1 and 2. There's a consideration of temporary closure of select city streets for rallies for recovery 5K on August 28th.
And the Director of Community Life can talk a little more at length about this request.
All right, so the Advocates for a Drug-Free Tomorrow would like to hold a rally for recovery on August 28th, 2021. They are requesting the closure of portions of East Bald Eagle Street, Ray Street, East Church Street, and Hannah Street. I have included the route of the race in your packet. I have already been working with Chief of Police Kristen Smith and the race directors to discuss this. This is an event that has happened in the past, so Chief is aware of the route and everything that would go with it. So my recommendation is to approve the request. And then for the second request, we have the Relay for Life banner. They would like to hang a banner from July 12th to August 1st. There is a conflict with the August 1st date, but I did speak with the coordinators and they are willing to bring their banner down before the JAMS banner comes up. So I will submit that request to PennDOT for the installation of the banner and also work with Tyler Wooding for that.
Greg, would it be appropriate for us to do these separate since one is a resolution?
You should do them separate since one is a resolution, just like you said, Your Honor. I just
do
like
I have-
repeating what you said.
Yep. So I have a motion for item 6A1, the consideration of temporary closure of streets.
So moved.
Second.
A motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Um,
Oh, Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
you got me all confused. I keep waiting for Bill Minster too. Yes.
I know.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. And 6A2, the consideration of resolution number 2021 question mark, the banner request.
I'll move the resolution.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion floor and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 6B, the economic partnership timeout.
The timeout for the month of June is on the 23rd from 5:30 to 7:30. The information is in your packet. If you are interested in attending, you can either RSVP for yourself or you can let me know and we'll take care of it.
I think I will be, but I'll send you an email.
Okay. It's easiest to send the email.
All right.
Thank you.
Where was
16.
that going to be again?
It is at the Sentimental Journey Fly-In.
That's right. Thank you.
16, the home grant award letter.
So it is a wonderful thing. The city has been awarded $500,000 for the home program that provides improvements to low to moderate income households. They average about $45,000 per household in investments in things like insulation, new windows, roofs. It really can be a lifesaver for a lot of people and help reduce their energy costs, which is great to help reduce their carbon footprint. So that'll be administered by CEDACOG, and the city with the city planner will participate throughout the entire process.
Fantastic news. Do we have any other correspondence?
I had none, Your Honor.
Okay. 7, unfinished business. Consideration of the rejection of all bids for the 2021 landscaping projects.
And the Director of Public Works is here to speak to that, as well as the letter received from Dad's Landscaping.
Good evening, everybody. As you see from the letter from Dad's, they unfortunately went out of business. So at the last meeting, we solicited for, or I got approval to solicit for bids. And in that time, we received only one bid. And attached to that document is their price per cut versus the previous contractor, which was Dad's. As you can see, the total price is more than twice the amount. So my recommendation is to reject the bid and have city staff continue to do the mowing this year. And then this fall or winter, go out for another project for mowing for 2022 season.
Okay. What's the wish of council?
I move the rejection of the bids.
Second.
I have a motion, floor, and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Do we have any other unfinished business, Greg?
None, Your Honor.
Okay. New business, consideration of ordinance number 2021-03, clarifying the collection procedures.
So last month, council worked on clarifying, I think, three different ordinances that all had different enforcement processes. In this case, the sewer and water ordinances both have similar procedures, and those are not laid out exactly the same in each of those chapters in the city code. So the city solicitor has written up a correction to that, just so that it's clarified for each customer exactly how the process works when there are unpaid bills. What the city does rely on is the state law, and that any city-owned utility that is billed literally as a lien against the property owner until the bill is paid. And so this kind of clarifies that process for people, so that the city doesn't say to you, well, go look up the state law. You can actually turn to our ordinance and see what the process is yourself. So it was written by the solicitor and submitted on his behalf for consideration to city council.
Okay. Do I have a motion for the ordinance? Mueller,
I move the ordinance be approved.
Second.
motion on the floor and a second for the ordinance. Any questions or comments on the ordinance? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 8B, consideration of the authorization to bid the utility street patching project.
Again, this is the Director of Public Works. I would just, excuse me, draw your attention to the fact that Castanea Township did request that the city begin its patching project this year. The Director of Public Works has been working for the past couple months getting that schedule put together. And unless he has more to add, we're just asking for permission to begin to put that together and seek those patchings to be done.
Yep, that's all I have.
All right, short and sweet, we like that. Do I have a motion to give authorization?
I move the patching be done.
Second.
Okay, so then I'll say that the motion is to authorize the bid. And we have a second. Any further questions or comments on the motion? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 8C, consideration of entering into an agreement with Firehouse Grant.
Earlier this year, City Council made a request to the county commissioners that they use the resources of their planning office to apply for the grant that is being considered here. I think we can all realize that the city, for example, will be receiving $950,000 from the federal government under the ARP Act. The county as well will be receiving considerable sums of money. All of these funds must be treated as if they are direct federal grants because they are indeed direct federal grants. So it is a kind of all hands on deck for the next 2 years. And so with that in mind, the county did offer to help be a resource, but doesn't necessarily have the resources to do the application themselves. And so the firemen's relief boards of each of the different companies met together and discussed what needs to be done in order to obtain a FEMA grant. And they have brought for the city's consideration, as well as the consideration of the other municipalities, to engage with Firehouse Grants. And for the city, on our capital improvement plan in 2023, we have budgeted more than $370,000 for the replacement of these units. So with the grant writing, it would cost the city $799 per hose company. We have 3 hose companies. So our fee to have them write and administer the grant would be $23.79. And then the city does have a local match of 5% if we are successful with the FEMA grant, which means instead of paying $378,000, then we are only going to pay $18,900 plus the application fee. So, I mean, definitely something that would be a tremendous savings, because right now that money does eat up that stored fund balance for 2023. So it does release those funds to be used for other items in our community. It is the recommendation of the fire administrator and Chief Bob Neff that we would move forward with presenting to council this consideration. And I would request that you would approve engaging Firehouse Grants for the application of the FEMA grant.
What's the wish of council? Steve?
I have a question first. Are they going to bid out who writes the grants, or do they have somebody already picked, and what's their success rate? Because you're probably going to get about one shot at this.
This is the grant writer that they have selected, and they have a 75% success rate. In this particular scenario, you're talking about 12 or more fire companies coming together for a single FEMA grant, which if I was a FEMA grant awarder, I would say that's phenomenal to get 12 fire companies to even agree on anything, let alone that they all could come together in order to work together to do this incredibly massive project. You know, just the city's share is almost $400,000. So to a lot of these smaller fire companies that are not supported with tax from their municipality, this can be just an overwhelming amount of money. So this grant can be a lifesaver for a lot of, especially the smaller volunteers. But they do have a 75% success rate.
Okay, that was my question. I didn't know if they put it out in a company's going to do it or just one person that's somebody local, or that, I was questioning that process, but I'm in favor of doing it. That'll save a lot. And you're right, it's a strong application to FEMA. They do like to see things like that. So I'll move the schedule for the application and the fees, to expend the fees.
Second.
A motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly,
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Any other new business?
I had none, but I did have a personnel announcement. Just in time for council rejecting all bids when it comes to lawn mowing. We have hired 2 additional members of the Department of Public Works as semi-skilled laborers, Devin Bechtel, who actually is the city resident, and Josh Ripka. And they both begin, I believe, on the 21st of this month. And they'll work in the Public Works Department in a variety of areas. Both have really strong previous skills. And they are replacements for vacancies that had existed. And so it'll be nice to have that staff back up. And we also have the current position of Operator 1 that is still vacant, and those interviews are taking place this week.
Since you're talking about that, how many, Tony, since you're still on here, how many cuts a year do we do or required Dad's Landscaping?
The contract calls for at least once a week unless directed otherwise. A year like last year, we did not cut. There was a good month and a half where we didn't cut at all.
So
but
we're still doing the levy ourselves, but
Correct.
this is the list of everything else.
Correct.
And you have a plan to cut that yourself in-house with our own department forces the rest of this year.
Correct.
Is there any repercussions did you find for Dad's backing out of the contract and costing us this much time and money? And the increase?
We're still reviewing that.
All right. Because to me, once you shake hands, that's it, unless you go out of business. I think they're obligated or should be obligated to cut it. And that's, I was satisfied with their contract. I thought it was a fair one. And it helped us out for all the reasons you had given before. But, if they can't, they can't.
They did actually go out of business. So.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Since we're still on the mowing subject, I just want to compliment Tony's crew. He can carry that back to them. I think they've done an excellent job. I think the levy has looked better than it's looked in a long, long time. The overall levy from end to end. And and that doesn't include the other projects. So I do have a question though. I thought maybe as much as 2 years ago, we talked about a plan that PennDOT had to create some meadow style plantings that would require less maintenance in the ramping areas. What's the status there? Or have they just walked away from that plan?
I believe that was Tony laughing in the back.
Yeah. They walked away from that last year when COVID hit.
Okay. All right.
Yep. We were to start everything back in March, and then I didn't hear anything. There was a new person I'm talking with now, so we are back in talks with that, but it won't be until if it continues. We won't have a proposal to you again until this fall.
Right. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Anything else?
Well, I had a couple of things quick. I was fascinated reading the flag code, that if you hang a flag on an east-west street, the Union faces north, and if you hang it on a north-south street, it faces east, which is apparently is government speak for hang it with the Union in the top right-hand corner. I think we probably should acknowledge the fact that all our local pharmacies have made it so easy to get vaccinated that, you know, it's almost more difficult now to fall off a log. You can make an appointment, you can walk in. It's a real simple process, and I hope, given that level of availability in the community, that by the time we get to the 4th of July, we will have made significant inroads above the 36% of people that currently are vaccinated. No reason not to do it. Let's just get on with it. And finally, I guess now that PASHI has published its integration plan, that our resolution opposing it is now moot. There are public hearings on the Northeast plan, I think, this Thursday. And I don't know, maybe we should discuss after that whether there is a need for a concerted council position on the plan, and if so, what that position should be. My personal view is that there's 199 pages in that. It is very long on all the program offerings and almost completely vague on how they would actually plan to manage this whole process. But that's just a personal view, which I expressed to the Chancellor with no response. But anyway, let's just see where we go after Thursday. But I'd be interested to see whether there really should be a position thereafter.
I don't know that I agree that our position is moot. To me, the circumstances haven't changed.
Well, I think our resolution said we opposed it until we've seen the plan. Well, now we've seen the plan.
I think the resolution said that we opposed it until we were given evidence that this is necessary. And I don't know that it's still been shown, but if someone can show me the resolution and show me I'm wrong, that's fine. But they've still not shown that it's necessary to do it. And it's one man's universal dream, basically, with it, just as an attack on public education. But if all of council feels that things are different, then I guess that's something we should discuss.
Well, I reorganized in the course of my professional life a number of large organizations a number of times, and I didn't ever do it this way. It's not to say it can't work, but the level of analysis and explanation that we've given seems to me to be woefully inadequate.
My feelings haven't changed. It's an attempt at ramrodding something through during a pandemic and hoping to get it through before anyone can stop it. And they may be successful, but they still have not given me evidence that they need to join the three universities together to make it work. His whole contention that the system isn't fair, that the bigger schools pay more and support more, that's the whole point of public education. Pointing out that Westchester pays $1,000 more per student than they do at Lock Haven is you're comparing apples to oranges. You know, look at the average income in Westchester and the cost of a home. $10,000 to those students is nothing compared to what we have here. And the whole point of the system was to bring opportunities to rural areas, and they're limiting it more by doing this. It's a smokescreen to say that they're providing more opportunities. But again, if council as a whole feels that it needs to be addressed, then I guess we can discuss that. Otherwise, to me, the resolution is still valid.
Yes, I haven't changed my mind on it either. I saw them on Pennsylvania Today. We do service low to moderate income families in a 5-county region, and that's why everything is spread out. They didn't come out in that 190 pages to say how much money they would save by doing any consolidation or integration. There's a whole lot of holes in his smokescreen yet that I can see through also. And it comes right down to it, in my opinion, the state has woefully underfunded this whole state system for a number of years. It declined to the level it is now. And so they're stirring the batter in the bottom of the bowl, trying to make the same amount of cake. And you just can't do it. I know the governor had a lot of money from the federal government, and 29% of it went towards education. But it was down at another level, not for the PASHE system, which needs propped up a little bit more. If they were all sitting flush, then this subject probably never would have come up. But if there's some that are struggling, there's ups and downs with everything, and they happen to just catch us here in Lock Haven when we're down. It just seems like they continue to kick us. So there's other underlying factors also that have not been addressed, and I think there are having meetings for those things. So we'll see what comes out of that.
The thing that irritates me with the supposed public consultation is you get one shot, one day, 2 shots in one day. Their role is to listen. You get 2 minutes to say what you have to say, and there is no comeback, no dialogue. There is at no point in this process has there ever been a sit down, thrash it out. This is what we want to do. We hear what you say, but we're going to do it anyway.
They're going to the motion so that they can act like they've taken a transparent approach to this when they didn't. They didn't, and I don't care what kind of thing they try to throw out there, they didn't. So, anyways, do we have anything else for tonight's meeting?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You do.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time and your patience. Alex, congratulations, and we'll work on getting things put forward for you then.
Yep, I'll reach out to you tomorrow, Alex.
Awesome.
Welcome aboard, Alex.
Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Greg, mark Patty and I down too for the picnic or the timeout. The timeout.
I did get Doug's email about the same.
Okay.
Thank you.